Hello everyone. It's a select audience. Yeah. I'm Professor Uwe Ekelen. I'm the Head of School of Computing and Information Systems. I just wanted to welcome you personally. George Buchanan will do the main talk in a minute. Yeah. But I just wanted to say one or two words myself why I think Melbourne Uni is a very good place for computing and information systems. Just from my own perspective as head of school. So for me, it's all about the staff. I mean, all universities have buildings and facilities and computers. The staff is, I think, what makes Melbourne different to other universities. We have the brightest minds in the country and worldwide top experts. And we don't hide them away in labs. We get all our professors to do frontline teaching. That's actually part of my job. So, for example, last semester, one of our top professors was teaching the introduction to computing. And that makes a big difference, I think, because you get to interact really with the world experts from the day one. The difference that makes is two things. One, obviously, they're going to teach you the up-to-date topics from the top guys. So, for example, artificial intelligence, the surround area, security, blockchain, all sort of things that you may already have heard about. But we're also teaching you things I'm sure you haven't heard about because we are just working on them. So, for example, quantum computing is a new area we're just working on. And another new area we're working on is digital ethics. So these are really brand new topics. There's no books in on these things, really. But we are working on them, and because our top staff are delivering the classes, we're hoping to find out about them. And I think that gives you a great advantage, especially if you want to get into sort of research-oriented jobs later, or if you want to get into advanced jobs later, because that's where these skills will be invaluable. George, I'll let you talk about more details. Okay. I'm around all day. If you want to ask me any questions, you probably find me in the old engineering building because that's where most of our stands are. But you can come and ask me anything about research, teaching, anything.
And I'll be here as well for the afternoon if you're looking for any course advice. Because we're going to go through a number of different courses, but I'll start off by taking a big view of graduate, so master's level above study at Melbourne. Now, Uwe and myself are actually relatively new members of staff. I've been here less than 2 years. Uwe's been here only since January. And one of the things that's brought us here is that Melbourne is the #1 computer science and information systems department in Australia, and is also ranked 14th in the world, which is the best ranking for any Australian institution. So we've got a very strong research profile. But these rankings also reflect our teaching excellence, which they also refer to. We have that strength, but we also have an impact on the world. If you look at our world rankings, we're number 7 for graduate employability. So if you're a graduate of Melbourne, you've got an opportunity to go and get not just a job, but a top-end job. And our qualifications are recognised by the Australian Computer Society, for instance, and also accredited by other bodies such as Europe and international accreditations, not just national ones. And we do have, as you will see in a moment, a range of different degrees that look at different areas and allow you to achieve excellence in the domain that's right for you and your ambition. We do a number of areas which are only emerging. Like one big issue is cloud computing, which you use every day when you use Google, but they use huge server farms that consume lots of energy. And we're trying to figure out ways of making that have a much lower environmental footprint. We're also looking at keeping your information secure, the ways that we can support an aging population using the technologies that we're creating, and looking at novel issues such as implanting sensors and so on into our own body, which can have health, but also has privacy concerns. So we're doing world-leading research that's absolutely at the front end of not just technology and science, but thinking across the whole domain of societal issues. So I'm going to go through a number of different degrees here because we're a large school. We have many different areas, and as a result, we have a number of different types of degree that may suit you. Within the Master of Engineering degree, there are 3 specialisms. Software, which is, remember, software engineering, that's building large systems. Software with business, which has more business emphasis within the same approach. And also spatial systems, we don't mean going into outer space, but actually dealing with issues like geographical data that governments and large groups like Google use to drive their information systems. We have a Master of Information Technology, which is targeted at people who may not have done a primarily computing first degree, but want to add computing to their range of skills. We similarly have a Masters of Information Systems, which studies how to organize and manage large-scale systems across time, rather than doing the technical things that keep the systems an optimal performance. This is making sure that Google runs every day. Data science is a term you may have heard, and with so much large data being created by these embedded systems, we need a master's degree that teaches you how to process and get ideas out of that information, not just how to manage the systems that keep it on. And that's another master's that we target. We've also got a Master's of Computer Science, which is a much more traditional computer science advanced degree, and there's a specialism in the Master of Science of Bioinformatics, which helps us work with biological data that's so important to many areas of the Australian economy. So there are a number of quite different degrees here, and I'm now going to step through them and talk about the strengths and targets of each of those, so you have a more clear idea of which is the right degree for you. So the Masters of Engineering and Software is looking at how to build and maintain very large IT systems, bringing together technologies such as machine learning and AI, looking at security, how to distribute these systems across many different computers, so if one breaks down, it keeps running. And it takes special skills to be able to build these sorts of systems. To enter this degree, you need to have either a Bachelor of Science, emphasizing computer science or software systems, or we will have increasingly students coming in from our new Bachelor's of Design in Computing. So you have to have an IT background for this degree. The Spatial Specialization in Engineering looks at geographic information systems, how to analyze information from satellite photographic information, how to collect data and handle it on, say, crop productivity. And that's got multiple accreditations from organisations as the Rangers of Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, through to Engineers Australia and EURES, which is the relevant body in Europe. And for that, we'd expect you to have a background in those sorts of spatial systems, either with a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Design if you're coming from a Melbourne background, but obviously we recognise equivalent degrees from other institutions. Now, one of our core degrees is a Masters of Information Systems. For this, you can have done any undergraduate's degree. It is there as a degree that includes people who will come from a computing background and people who may have done English literature, for example. But we have within that degree a way of looking at the use of IT that's at a much more managerial level, and looking at things such as IT strategy, how to manage and govern data so it doesn't go into the wrong hands, how it's fresh, secure, and how to meet the expectations of a business by thinking strategically. This is full accreditation from the Australian Computer Society. It's a high caliber business focused IT degree that's relevant to government and commercial work. This is Alice, by the way, who's one of the people who's moved from RMIS into being on executive of Accenture in Australia. We also have Masters of Information Technology. Now, the MIS is looking at issues such as strategic management and governance. The MIT is a much more technically oriented subject, looking at things like how to use artificial intelligence, how to manage security and configure it correctly, specialisms like how to make computers easy to use, or human-computer interaction. And we expect to have a general undergraduate degree, but some exposure in a single subject to programming in some way or form. Some people do enter this having done a special subject plus where they can get that experience. This brings you more into development role, and for instance, Steve here is doing a lot of work creating new ways of analysing data for MU Capital, which is a financial services company. We continue to develop our degrees. Last year in the MIT, we introduced that Human-Computer Interaction specialism. That's already got 100 students. It's the top one in the whole Southern Hemisphere. But we also this year are extending MIT further by adding on a cybersecurity specialization. Melbourne has a particular strength in cybersecurity. We run the Buchanan Security Centre with the University of Oxford. You may have heard of them. Trying to make sure that we really improve security, we ensure it's robust, but also understanding how to make those systems easier to use, manage and govern as well. And that requires a range of technical skills and approaches which you will learn through this specialism. It may be you're more interested in what we call data science. This is where we analyze large amounts of information. We use ideas from computer science, statistics and maths to try to get new understandings from large and complex data. To achieve that, you're going to master a number of different skills, and we expect you to have a background in either computer science or a math subject with a heavy amount of programming and statistics in it. Here are some typical entry points. If you had a computer science degree with at least a programming subject, some other universities, you don't have to actually learn to do programming to do computer science, but also a clear aptitude to mathematics specifically, because that will be needed too. There are other entry points for people who are more from a statistics background or have done a data science bachelor's. On to finally the computer science options. If you've done a standard computer science degree, then one obvious second step is the Master of Science in Computer Science. That allows you to look at advanced areas of computing, extending your knowledge from your bachelor's degree, and examples of that are in health sciences. We're using some of our machine learning techniques to actually plan for the delivery of social services and even transport infrastructure, but that involves very specific computer science skills. And on the other hand, perhaps you're looking more at a biology background or an interest in biology. Biology increasingly for large organizations is looking at using computer processing to analyze the effectiveness of medicine, the potential for a new drug or treatment to remedy a disease or reduce its effects. And therefore, in that area, we need to combine lots of different approaches from biology, biochemistry, physiology in some cases, for instance, working on people's motion, but also computer science, statistics, and maths. It's a specialist area, but one which is in very high demand. So if you've got a background in computing or the computing parts of those disciplines, that might be the best fit for you. Now, all these different approaches actually lead to different sorts of roles afterwards. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can get as a benefit to your career from studying your graduate degree at Melbourne. One of the things that we have is that background 7th world ranking for employability, but also 93% are employed 4 months after graduation, while the remaining 7% includes people who do PhDs, so it's not like they're unemployed, but they're technically studying, not in employment. We have a large number, I happen to know that figure is conservative, because I've seen a figure last week that had a 3 at the beginning. But we've got a large number of employers who come here because there is a deep pool of talent at Melbourne. And there are various ways in which we engage with business to help people transition from their graduate degree to a longer-term career at the forefront of technology. So we've got a thing called Melbourne Accelerator program that I work with personally, trying to help graduates from Melbourne start up businesses using the ideas that they've created in their degree. There are currently 11 businesses in that program for this year. There's an annual cohort. But we also have specialisms such as the engineering and business, so engineering, software and business streams that help you specialize with support on how to do entrepreneurship. We also have various maker spaces for people who want to do physical innovations. We have hackathons, but we also have a range of internships and other ways of working with companies as well. So taking those internships, these are typically 10 to 15 weeks. So essentially, if you will, a 3-month period where you get some professional experience, but unlike some other programs, this actually gives you credit towards your degree. It's not just a thing you do in addition, it's a core part of the degree, because that world impact is important to us. We also have other ways of working with industry, even if you don't want to make that scale of time commitment or are unable to make that scale of time commitment. Some of our final year projects, and if you're doing a 2-year master's or you're embedded subject for doing the other masters, are in many cases linked to industry or to public programs. We have a number of students, for instance, at the moment working with Museums Victoria. We've got a Creating Innovative Engineering program, which actually is focused on creating new ideas with industry in a very structured way. That's sort of mini-map. And we also have a mentoring program across the university in STEM, science, technology subjects, which help you learn about how to innovate and develop your skills in creating new solutions. We also take general employability skills seriously, so there are CISA, for instance, in computing is our body for students. They, along with the staff, events to help you build career skills, networking skills, but also there are specific employability workshops to help you hone your CV, make the right connections, find introductions to people who might be important to you. I've mentioned CISA already. They're a very active society that I work with the MAP program as well. We've also got a Women in Science and Engineering protocol that's sort of very active, lots of people involved in it. And there's RoboGals, which is involving doing lots of robot control. Final thing at the end is the Endeavour exhibition. Every year we have this, which is one of the things where we showcase what we're doing, but that also is an event at which we invite industry to come help us judge the people who are presenting. And Matthew, for instance, on the right there, he was involved in one of the earlier precedents of the Endeavour exhibition, and as a result of being spotted by someone from Google, he is now, as you can see, working at Google. Very successful. So there are a number of different sectors, and it's worth saying that in IT, your career in many ways is shaped not by the fact you're working in technology, but which context your technology is in. So for instance, if we take a Masters of Software Engineering, a lot of the people will move on to roles like software engineer, in some cases web application developer or consultants. Those other job roles there are not quite so common in a Master of Engineering role, but you will end up working for relatively large businesses, Accenture, Google, IBM, Deloitte, Microsoft, Telstra. So it tends to be sectors that require those very big systems that degree is aimed to do, and therefore you mostly see very big companies and roles that will primarily focus on the skill sets from the degree. Now, on the other hand, if you take a Master of Information Technology, you might think, well, I've only started with a bachelor's and another specialism. What's open to me? You'll see here the mixture is somewhat different. There's some overlaps, like project manager or web developer, you will see in both. But actually, there are things like working in IT consultancy, looking at virtual reality, for instance, which usually involve a number of different skills, and depending on what you arrive with, you may end in a different sector. And I certainly I know the person who they were inspired to make the virtual reality talk. They were a graphic designer before they did their MIT degree. So they combined their graphic skills with their IT skills to create a very unique role. So MIT can get you into a number of companies like National Australia Bank, for instance, it's still blue chip, Telstra, didn't see that in the other list. But equally, a number of different organisations, and the size of organisations is bigger because the focus of the degree is different. MIS, looking at those management areas, you'd naturally expect to see people like Price Waterhouse, again, banks, KPMG, and other service organisations. That's very much where you'll end up working with this sort of degree. In roles such as the business systems analyst, delivery manager, analyst, also project management again, but very much you will see those roles lead from the emphasis on a more strategic point of view in terms of managing the systems day to day. We can get there from any bachelor degree. It's worth saying a bit about what we can do in terms of the overall support for your degree, because master's degrees involve two very expensive things: your time and sadly that thing called money. There is something worth saying at this point about the value of having a master's degree in IT. In many domains, there is very little benefit in doing a master's degree economically. Now, I'm still finding out what the picture is in Australia, but it seems to be coming out about the same. But in the UK, there's about a $10,000 a year on average over your career benefit to having a master's degree in computing. So over a 30 or 40 year career, that's $300,000-400,000. It's worth doing. But on the other hand, it's not cheap. There's a variety of supports that we do have within the School of Engineering to help you. Firstly, there's the CSPs, the Commonwealth Supported Places, which are subsidised by the government. This is very much worthwhile exploring. You still have to contribute something, but there are various ways of getting help, no pun intended, with the HECS process to actually reduce and defer that. So you can wait until you've got income coming in. If you're unable to get a CSP, you'll have to pay the full tuition fees. However, again, this can in many cases be deferred using computing help. And we also have a very large number of scholarships. One of the things that's unique about being highly ranked is we have at Melbourne a fairly hefty amount of cash lying around the place of the maps, to be honest, and there are a variety of specific scholarships we have available for students within the School of Engineering, but also the university has instigated a number of new types of scholarships this year, including principal scholarships, which can give you further support in addition to one or all of these different approaches here. I wouldn't suggest sort of paying all over the place. So it's certainly a reasonable return on investment that gives you opportunities, and we are very concerned about the fact that degrees these days are costly, even at bachelor's level, and it's important for industry that we have a good profile of master's students progressing through with even higher level skills.